Welcome to Disruption Forum, the Design Horizons. My name is Brzycka. I'm a client partner at Netguru here. So it's my pleasure to kick off today's sessions. We have many interesting subjects and guests, and we're going to be discussing all things design, all things future of domain, and of course, AI cannot be missing here. So it's been such an exciting and developing subject that I feel that we are going to look at this panel as a point in the timeline, and it's exciting to have you here joining your stories with us. We are going to kick off with a panel on the dilemma of AI automation in design and what not to do. And thank you so much for joining me here today, Eduardo Ribeiro, the brand lead design at Qonto, and Max Brooks, the head of UX design at Checkatrade. Please introduce yourselves and bring our audience a little bit more into the context of what you are doing and how your career has developed to bring you there. Max, maybe you can start.
Yeah, sure. Hi, thank you. Yeah, my name is Max, and thank you for the introduction, very kind introduction. Head of UX for Checkatrade, and I think this is such an amazing subject as design dilemma. Something I think as designers we're always, there's a level of apprehension to AI and how we're using it. I think how we're using it today, we can dive into more detail, but obviously for Checkatrade, we are moving at such a pace digitally, looking at technologies like AI and how we can leverage them, and more, obviously a lot of those conversations are all around engineering, but design is something that I can't wait to dive into a little bit more. So yeah, that's me. Eduardo.
Thanks, Max. So hello, everyone, and thank you, Netguru, for the invitation. It's really a pleasure to be sharing here with such an amazing community. So I'm Eduardo Ribeiro. Brand design and marketing expert, currently brand design lead at Qonto, and a curious mind when it comes to the intersection of AI and creativity. That's why I'm here today. At Qonto, I've been leading part of the design team to shape the brand across Europe, and throughout this journey, one thing that became clear was that AI is not just another tool. It's a shift on how we approach our craft. So I'm excited to share, my point of view and how designers can design, how designers and design leads can stay in control while using AI to elevate our work.
Brilliant, thank you. And I agree with you that it has been like such a transformative wave for everybody. And a very good point, Max, that you've mentioned. Designers are on the forefront of figuring out how to adopt the newest technology. So I think we are very fortunate to be discussing this with you. I think that the very good kicking point to talk about what not to do is to set a baseline. And can you tell us a little bit about what experiences you have so far, what projects have you run, or what tools have you tested?
Yeah, Max, I'm happy to go first. So I think for us, obviously, within the world of UX and design, there's all these kind of brand new tools that come up a lot, and I think that for us, the first question I kind of ask myself and ask my team is like, what is the best use? What are the best tools for us to kind of either save time or to get to ideation quicker, and sort of where are the injections of AI? Because I think that we can very quickly kind of go and plug prompts in and go, that's it. And I don't quite think that that's how we use it designing within our toolkit. So actually kind of taking a step back, I think what I thought would be quite useful is specifically in those brainstorming sessions, ideation, in one of the recent examples we used like Galileo. If you haven't used Galileo AI, it's really cool. It's very similar to UX Pilot. They're very kind of similar. They're really cool. But what it enabled us to do was kind of take the same prompt that we are using as to do maybe our Crazy 8 sessions, and kind of pumping that into AI to see what that comes up with too. And what we're finding is that it's helping us to ideate quicker. It's helping us to discover quicker, or maybe the AI is coming up with things that maybe we hadn't even kind of thought of. So that's been really cool. I think as a tool itself, it's fantastic, giving you different variants of designs for your prompt. You can copy it straight into Figma. So all of these things, I think, for us have been really great, because they, again, go back to this point of saving time. we can sit there and kind of pull components left, right, and center. But I think that for us to kind of use those prompts, pull that into, and then tweak it and make that ours, I think has been one of the more exciting pieces for. And look, I appreciate that there's a lot of, as I said at the start, apprehension around it kind of just spitting out the perfect UI, and we're going to move on. And I haven't quite seen it do that yet. But what it does is it gives you an amazing kind of first step. That's Galileo, anyway. My experience, we use it a ton for. I certainly use it a ton for ideation.
For sure. And I think that sometimes the most helpful thing is to get you from the step 0 to step 1, right? To get you started. And that can be such a powerful unblocking tool for sure. And Eduardo, you dealing with a brand design, right? That is so focused on the visual images. How does it look with your team?
Both challenging and exciting, I would say. Challenging because as design leader, I encourage my team to balance brand and creativity, business objective, user needs. And there's no formula for that. And it requires quite careful fine tuning that AI still struggles with precision. So the exciting part is that since AI isn't just about generating assets, so we can with that unlock efficiency in time, efficiency in budget, in decision making, and how all of this together can drive business impact. This view has pushed us to step back and acknowledge that design goes beyond craft. And when we embrace this perspective, I totally agree with Max that there are different tools and things that we are testing and exploring. Each one will serve us for a reason, for a purpose. So when we embrace this perspective, we see how much AI can empower the designers in the end. And it's interesting to see that because when you put it in perspective of how much workload, hidden workload is within the brand design process, there is a hint on, okay, so maybe here it can be my partner, and maybe here I can find a way for empowering my work to be a better designer, or to work with more precision and speed that usually if I was on my own or even with the team, it was going to be difficult to achieve this level of efficiency.
I also find, Eduardo, I was just going to say, like, I find that for me, it stops the endless scrolling for like the right thing. We've all probably experienced this. You kind of got it in your mind about what it is that you're looking for. Midjourney really helps me with this, especially with kind of brand illustrations and those sort of things. I can kind of go, look, I'm a little bit there. I've got like 1 or 2 elements that I think, hey, these kind of work. I can drop them into Midjourney. I can ask it, I'm going in this direction, but I kind of looking for X, Y, Z. It's going to spit me up some examples, and I go, hey, actually, that's kind of, I can move forward with maybe that asset or this one. And I'm not taking them and saying, hey, that is it, perfect, move on, ship it. I'm saying, let's work with it. And I think that what I'm certainly learning more about, the more I use AI and the more our teams use AI, is it's helping us to overcome this like designer's block, same as like writer's block, right? It helps us kind of just leap over that and go, hey, I'm back on track again. Because how often do you get kind of so sucked into your work and you're like, I'm running around in circles, I need to take that step back. And that step back, like you say, your assistant there is really exciting for me. It's something that I've certainly raised, and I know my team have too.
Exactly. And if you think about the double diamond framework, what we are able to do now is that we are able to diverge more faster and with a wider range of solutions or possibilities before saying, okay, so right now I have more control points in my hand to take a decision and I go to through this direction. So I agree with you. Using this in the ideation and exploration has been really amazing and brought us already some interesting results so far.
Absolutely. I think that the writer's block, like all creative industries and, like careers have experienced that and know it, that, like you're looking for this inspiration and you're looking for the right track. I'm curious, do you feel, because definitely AI can be helpful, like getting you through that first door, but do you feel that it can derail you as well as you go in the process, that you can maybe have this paradox of unlimited options, or do you think that it does the job well in providing you, like with a solution that is good enough and that you can move on with?
I mean, in my experience, I think it depends on, how you're approaching it out, what you're looking for from it, right? If you're in a discovery phase, I feel like that is kind of personally the best place for it. I suppose where I've seen maybe the wrong approach is kind of going to systems again like Galileo and sort of asking it for the prompt, taking it and going, that's correct, because there's a part of it that generally, from a first step tends to be quite generic, or is not kind of nuanced enough. I mean, that just comes from naturally, AI not being able to understand human emotions and behaviors and our general human nuances. And also good taste, right? We know what kind of looks good and what's, it tends to be quite functional what kind of comes out. So I think where it can kind of go wrong, in my opinion, is this part where we kind of just go, yep, that'll do, and move on, right? I think that the part where a designer really has a high impact when using AI is to kind of go, okay, I've got the framework, like you mentioned earlier, like I've got the framework, and now I can build on it, and I'm using it as a tool as I go along. Rather than kind of going, hey, it nailed it first time, and I'm gonna move, and that's where I feel like, personally, in my experience when I've used it, it kind of doesn't really stack up.
Completely agree with you, Max. And only comment is that the designer is on control. It's not that AI is doing the work for you. AI is a tool that's helping you to achieve your goals. So if you're in control, you have the right goals for that. You will know when to stop, and when because it will naturally be achieving your goals.
And so far, when you run experiments, for example, right? Have you had like a clear indication of that, okay, that hasn't gone well? Because of course I agree with you that, like you have this like master human factor in control, like that chooses and knows like what the direction is and what isn't, and what is satisfying and what isn't. But have you had like assumptions that something is going to work and it hasn't?
That's what we most have, I would say, so far. But jokes apart, what really matters is having this clear vision of what your team is trying to achieve, in which experiment. And I can give you an example that we were testing some AI tools for illustration production. And the objective that the designers in my team had in mind was trying to go from prompt to final asset. Instead, we ended up with a large catalog of details that didn't quite meet our guidelines. But however, it was a valuable insight. At this stage of technology, AI is a powerful tool for exploration, like we were saying. So when we break down, like I was saying, the creative process, this process led us to be able to step back, like I just mentioned. So when we saw that, we said, okay, maybe it's not helping us here, but that's something interesting here, because it's some prompts provided us with ideas that we weren't expecting, and they weren't exactly precise with the prompts that we gave. So this made us think, oh, so maybe this can really be, the trigger for us to understand how we can support us best. And the expansion of assets that I just mentioned was achieved as part of this approach. So I think it's, yes, we failed a lot. So, but if you embrace failure as also an important part of the creative process, you also learn from that. So instead of generating frustration of not being able to go from prompt to final assets, if we understand, okay, so what's the power that this tool right now have in your hands, it's really, really amazing on how we can empower designers' work.
But to your point there, right? You know, that kind of prompt to final design. I think that very clearly like highlights what you can't just automate like that one task. You can't kind of just say, hey, just do the job and see you later. I think that's not the role of a designer here. I think you know, we use it as within our toolkit. We can't just kind of say, do this UX for this particular problem and see you later. There are parts that just can't be automated, right? Like, how do we inject the human aspect of this, or how it feels, or emotion, or those things that make it ours within our brand? You know, how are we translating that? And I also think that because it's learning from all these different models, how are we getting to a point where we are really pushing the boundaries of design? I think that AI generally will do an amazing job of bringing all of these things together, but that pushing the boundaries thing, that's where designers really play a part.
Brilliant, and thank you so much for summarizing, because we had a question from the audience like specifically to you, Max, so I think it might have been related to UX, that asked about what would you specifically never fully automate in UX at Checkatrade. So if you have anything to add, please go ahead. But also I'm going to tie it to my next question. Do you see, because right now it's pretty clear from what I'm getting from you, that components, yes, but full output, no, you know? So do you think that anything is changing over time? Do you see that there are areas that are going to be much better given their outcomes in a couple of, I don't know, quarters or years? Or do you think that this is pretty much how it's going to stay with our applications of Gen AI?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think, you know, well, we've all seen, you know, how AI has evolved in such a short period of time, and how more specific it can get, or, you know, around the work that we're doing. I do see a space in which, you know, we can use it even more in the process, but I just don't see it kind of taking over the complete design process. I see it part of ideation. I can see it creeping into more ideation and making it more of a fundamental part of ideation. But actually, when we put the board out, right, and if Eduardo and I sat there with 100 things from AI, you know, who is there saying, hey, that's what exceptional looks like? That's really, you know, catching my eye, and that's the thing that represents us the best. I think that fundamentally is what we do as designers and humans, and I see AI doing a lot of that first bit, but actually for us to kind of take that and move it forward. But then you kind of get into the next phase, is like variants of that. Okay, well, once we've pulled out the thing that we know that looks great or feels right to us, variants on that, you know, AI steps in and can create variants because it knows now that that's where we're going. And I can see that, you know, as we evolve, you know, talking about illustrations, we've used illustrations and explored them in great detail recently. The prompts become easier because it's learned a lot of what we like, but still it comes back to this point of, what does great look like? What does exceptional look like? We're the ones who decide that. But I do see it playing more of an important part of what, you know, a designer's toolkit than it is today.
Brilliant, super. Eduardo, question to you. In this space of development, right? What is your vision on like human creativity? And we are having much more supplements that helps us do our tasks. We want to isolate, you know, like this magic factor that we bring to the table. So creators, of course, want to create. There is the famous quote that, you know, like, we don't want AI to do the creative process for us. We want it to do the dishes and the cleaning stuff that we don't want to do, so that we can focus on things we are passionate about. How can creators protect their domain, and how do you see like future-proofing of the skills of the creative designers, and yeah, how can they upskill most efficiently?
If we look through this history, there's always some apprehension when new technology challenges the way we work. But the key to motivation for me is, shifting the perspective. Like I said, AI isn't here to replace designers, but to unlock new possibilities. And one comparison that I always like to do is when Photoshop emerged. Paste app artists might have feared being replaced, but they were actually the most skilled professionals at adapting and mastering that. So like Max was saying, AI is really evolving quick, and here inside Qonto, we're feeling that we're close to having it also in the production phase as well as in the ideation. But it can bring true creative intuition. It can bring strategic thinking, emotional depth, and creativity is about storytelling, cultural awareness, problem solving. So the real power is how designers will leverage AI as a tool. Not fearing that it's another, because AI is not a thing. It's a set of technologies that are here to support us. And with a position exactly as a tool for efficiency and creative expansion, is not a threat at all. So the challenge is not AI itself. It's making sure designers see its potential and learn how to use it in their advantage. In the end of the day, it won't replace creativity. It won't replace intuition and brand vision. But it can for sure empower designers to work smarter and push creative boundaries, like Max was saying. So how do we go beyond? How do we try to reach places that we couldn't or were harder for us to achieve in the past? So I really believe that if we embrace it as an expansion of our abilities, it's not a threat at all.
Absolutely. And I'm curious, maybe Max, this is a question for you as well. Do you notice, or can you tell us a little bit more about how teams, because you as leaders, that manage teams through this period, how do you notice any apprehension about the new technology, or do you just see excitement and thrill? Or do you see any challenges of maybe being hesitant to admit that this could be much more transformative than anticipated?
Yeah, I think I think we've all had an aha moment when it comes to AI and what it is and how it works for us. I think for us more recently, it was when we were sort of mentioning about the brand illustrations, right? We were kind of going around in circles, thinking kind of like this one asset, but we can't build on it. We don't know how to build on it, and chucking that into Mid-Journey and it's spitting out. And we go, hey, and now we're really flowing. I think the apprehension comes generally, in my experience, from not using it or not using it in the right way, or these tools in the right way. After that kind of initial hey, check a couple of prompts here, see what it comes out back with. I feel like that's when designers start to understand where it sits within their toolkit, or where are the time savings, and that's when you start getting a lot of positivity around it. We've got an amazing Slack channel within Checkatrade, where it's just #AI. Every company should have one, where we're constantly posting all of these AI wins or things that we've found or learnings. My team are now constantly in those channels trying and learning these things, right? But the apprehension, yeah, definitely, but prior to getting involved in those things, generally comes from a place of that constant fear of it will replace my job, which in reality, that is certainly not the case. I think it is a tool for us to use, rather than it being a total replacement. If it is a total replacement, I'm sure you'll see the most generic thing, designs, from brand all the way through to UI, and everything gets a little bit boring. So I certainly don't see it being a total replacement, no.
For sure. Eduardo?
For me, designers' autonomy is about creative independence and decision making power. So in these terms, providing this to the team and unlocking their ability to upskill in AI, that which is not, by the way, just prompting better. No, it's understanding how to integrate into workflows and how it can enhance the creativity. This is the thing. So if we experiment more, if we refine processes, it for sure can consolidate brand goals, business goals. Like I said, we need to balance lots of factors when producing brand assets, and sometimes it's hard for us to take a decision. So, but the decision is still in the hands of the designer. So this is what matters the most for me. So you're not being it's not doing the creative work for you. It's creating some creative assets, starting from what you desired, from what you directed, from your words, from your thoughts. And the best are your thoughts, the better will be the result that is there. So really, I think that the key is staying in control. The designers are in control, and the more designers understand that, the more they can shape this technology to serve our vision and pushing the boundaries for everything that can be possible.
Absolutely. That's what I hope for personally is that really the time it saves and the automation of mundane tasks. Like I'm hoping that there's going to be more time for like getting inspired and just feeding yourself with good influences and refining your tastes and refining your approaches. So that's what kind of makes me very hopeful. And my last question to wrap up is there anything that you are waiting for, that you are hoping that AI will solve that is not there yet?
I do, absolutely. And I've started to see it, for all the design system nerds that are listening, I think we're all kind of eagerly waiting for an AI to plug into design systems in the right way and to be able to use them in the right way. I think that, like we're sort of saying about the dishes and washing the dishes, I think it's a really good analogy. There are many times in which we're designing, especially within our world, screens that are, like standard privacy pages, or the kind of the standard pages that you're like, wow, we all know it's going to look like, it's just going to take me time to put it together. I need to grab my components. I see a world in which we can plug much more deeper into design systems to, prompt against our personalized design system. UX Pilot, I know, are doing this. I haven't trialed it yet, but I think that's the really exciting space specifically for UX and UI. I don't know about you, Eduardo, within brand design.
Yeah, I was reflecting here and remembering how web design was 20 years ago. That was really about coding in Notepad. Later there was Ribeiro to help a bit, but today we have amazing CMS with things that are seamless and beautiful. So I hope that at a moment, instead of going too technical and word by word, letter by letter, there will be a moment that we'll be able, I want to merge this with that, with this here, and we can more easily use the best advantages that the technology have, and be more user friendly for us as designers. We always say that we want to be user friendly for our target, but we're in a moment that I believe that if AI is also user friendly for the designers, it will also be seen less as a threat.
Wonderful. I hope that, some of the things are going to be in place next time we get to talk. Thank you so much for joining us. And yeah, thank you, everybody. Looking forward to next sessions.